original Steel Battalion was notable for its custom-designed controller that incorporated 2 joysticks, 40 odd buttons, foot pedals, and a price tag worthy of its heft. When Capcom announced it was continuing the series on Kinect, the first thought was how the same level of complexity could possibly be retained with a motion-sensing input device. Is Steel Battalion Heavy Armor a dumbed-down experience aimed at the casual market, or does it recapture its simulation-style roots?
Come on, man. Fucking open up.
绝大部分，这能够得到绝大部分的认可。你们明白吗？是。
Steel Battalion Heavy Armor's story finds an Asian-backed United Nations in control of Europe and much of America. Using a combination of troops, air support, traditional tanks, and bipedal vehicles called vertical tanks, VEETs for short, the UN has pushed American forces into Mexico. Your objective is to push back. In an interesting twist, there are no computer systems in this future, so the equipment and even the soldiers themselves are more a throwback to World War II than what you'd expect to find in a futuristic war game.
Raynor! Parker! Come meet Sergeant Powers!
You're cast in the role of Winfield Powers, a retired Army officer whose family was ruthlessly murdered by UN troops. He pilots a rush bucket of a VEET along with a 3-person crew that you'll interact with by using the Kinect in silly ways, like making fist bumps, shaking hands, catching a tossed apple, grabbing a pack of smokes, or in some cases dragging them back in your VEET to smack some sense into them.
You don't need me!
There's plenty of chatter from your crew inside the VEET, and the cinematics before and after each mission help fill in the blanks of what's happening during the war. While the overall ragtag group fights evil empire story is hardly new, the atmosphere inside and out of your vehicle helps make the conflict more personal.
Shit, partner. Hey, that tickles, man. Freaking me out.
Hey, Jackson!
Can you pat your head, jump on one foot, and rub your belly at the same time? That's what it initially feels like when trying to use all of the functions in your VEET during combat. While an interactive tutorial briefly explains the basics in the open desert, from that point on you're pretty much on your own. Instead of receiving detailed briefings that explain what you're supposed to be doing in a given mission, the game throws you to the wolves, hoping you'll be able to learn on the run. Each mission boils down to trial and error, with a strong emphasis on error. While some will appreciate the lack of hand-holding, your objectives typically aren't clear. Worse, it seems that whenever you're trying to listen to your commander's instructions, your teammates are also moaning about this or complaining about that, all while you're taking heavy fire from the opposition and wrestling with the Kinect's responsiveness. This creates a hectic atmosphere that's perfectly suited to a war game, but it's also cheap and punishing, requiring you to restart levels over and over again until you finally figure out what exactly you're supposed to be doing, and hope that you can actually get your VEET moving before it's destroyed.
Whoa, hey, so you go that far? It ain't funny no more, partner.
Once you've determined how best to approach a mission, you'll realize the environments aren't quite as large as they may initially appear. Mines and other artificial barriers limit your movement and strategic options, so maps feel more linear than open. Yet the biggest problem is that the flow never seems to improve because you're constantly fumbling with the controls. Patient gamers may be able to work through the near-constant misfires, but most will want to surrender and walk away, vowing never to play anything remotely similar on the Kinect ever again. Because of the sloppy controls, you'll have a difficult time completing one mission, let alone the 7 campaigns making up the game's story mode. Each campaign takes place at a different point in the war and is comprised of missions that vary in length and objectives. Some missions may have you going outside the tank in heavily scripted sequences, while most involve taking out enemy VEETs or structures. As you advance through the game, certain missions will become available for co-op play with up to 4 players, but you can't actually share a single VEET and work together as a team, which would have been the more interesting option. While Kinect-only games haven't exactly garnered confidence among the hardcore, Steel Battalion is in no way, shape, or form what you consider casual. So if you're worried that you'll be pointing your arm out and saying pew pew while stomping around like Godzilla, you can relax. Heavy Armor is not that style of game. Instead, it attempts to use the device in a rather thoughtful way, to make the experience more lifelike without forgetting there's also a perfectly good wireless controller that can be put to use. You'll be relying on the traditional controller for movement and firing, and you can actually sit down in your chair or couch to play the game, although you'll have to stand up at times to look out the VEET's hatch.
Your head might get shot the moment you pop it on out there.
Unfortunately, the Kinect simply can't keep up with the action. Expect an extremely frustrating time inside your Vite as you try unsuccessfully to activate certain controls in the vertical tank's cockpit view. To pilot your Vite, you'll use your hands to pull levers, press buttons, grab consoles, activate a periscope, view your crew, and much more. Looking through either the viewport or periscope lets you control your Vite with the analog sticks, with the triggers firing both primary and secondary armaments. Since space in your Vite is cramped, many of the buttons, monitors, levers, and other doodads are practically on top of each other.
Yo, fuck that shit!
Each action requires an irritating amount of precision, so if you slouch, are wearing the wrong colored clothing, or don't exhibit quick, deliberate motions with perfect posture and a lot of luck, you'll be pulling the wrong panels, pressing the wrong buttons, and contemplating whether to drop kick your Kinect into the recycling bin. Alas, there are no voice commands or head tracking features, which would have simplified some of the actions.
They all fucked up, man. Hey, that ain't nothing. Oh, days like this, bro, I just want to kick back in a hammock and swing.
Steel Battalion's heavily scripted action sequences and in-game cinematics are highly reminiscent of Call of Duty's presentation, and the hectic feel of combat is well captured, ratcheting up the tension and sense of urgency you'll feel while trying to pilot your Vite. The detail in your vehicle is impressive, and the damage you'll receive will result in cracked windshields, shattered glass, smoke inside the cockpit, and more, requiring some hands-on maintenance in order to recover. The booming sound effects heighten the intensity of battles, but the dialogue and voice acting could be much better.
Sarge? Ooh! Hey! Hey, what was that for?
Shoot, Sergeant! Shoot!
Steel Battalion Heavy Armor hangs its helmet on an implementation of the Kinect intended to make the experience of piloting a vertical tank seem realistic. When it works, it definitely accomplishes this goal, making you feel you're an integral part of the action. The problem is, it doesn't work consistently, effectively shattering the sense of immersion each time you reach out and hit the wrong lever or button, and then comically try to undo what you just did. There's a potentially entertaining game here, but it's buried underneath the Kinect's infuriating limitations.
A little reward for our big score back on the beach.
What would you know about scoring, man?
Hey, fuck you!